Hey guys, it's me again. We're here to do a little demo on how to finish out some of your car pieces. Right now on this lecture I'm going to go ahead and focus on the door, the windows, and then trim pieces for both trimming out the windows and trimming out the door. I would also like to show you how to finish off your body panels in a way that they are smoothable and basically usable for any production. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go ahead and hide all the layers that we don't need and just focus on the door section here. So what we have here is our door, and it's been modeled in our low poly cage, basically, to just nail the basic shape of the door. But now we want to go ahead and finish it off and round it out so that it actually has the rounded edges that our car actually has. So this was very easy to work with, but now it's time to go ahead and start adding detail now that we have the shape locked off and we're happy with it. So here's what it'll look like when it's done. Here is I've got another body panel here that I've already gone ahead and smoothed out and cut some insets into, and now we're going to do the same thing on this one. We're going to add the fillet, do the insets, and set this door up so that it can be smoothed to any resolution, basically. So what I want to do here is I'm going to use my front left quarter panel as a reference. And the first thing you want to do is you just want to hit the 3 key to go ahead and do just a sub D preview smooth of your low res mesh. So what we're looking for here is this profile curve right here. Does that look good, or do we need to add some more edges to tighten things up? So I see here that this thing's eroding a little too fast. Here we just have a straight line because we only have one edge. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add some extra edges so that we can smooth this thing correctly. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into polygons, and I'm going to say edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, and I just want to make sure my settings are correct. And I'm going to add an edge right there to coincide with that edge, and then I'm going to add an edge here, and I'm going to add an edge here to coincide with these edges on this other body panel. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit the 3 key after I go to object mode. So first I'm going to go into object mode, F8. I'm going to hit the 3 key to just do a preview. Now we can see we've got a better profile here, and on this one we need to go ahead and smooth this edge out a bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and select it, and I'm just going to bend it back a little bit so that we get a nice softer edge here instead of a hard edge. Okay, I'm going to hit the F8 key to go into object mode again. Then we hit the 3 key to just do a quick NURBS preview, or a sub D preview of the mesh, and that looks pretty good. So the next thing I want to do, now that I have these lines taken care of, is I want to go in and add some extra edges so that I can do the insets here for the hinges. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on my front reference plane, or I'm sorry, I'm going to turn on my side reference plane. I'm going to hit the 6 key to display the texture map. Then I'm going to go into my front orthographic viewport here, and what I want to do is I want to add some edges on the sides of these hinges here so that I can inset that little recessed area for where the hinge goes. Alright, so I'm going to go into polygons, edit mesh, insert edge loop, and what I want to do is I want to stay on the perimeter of this hinge. So I don't want to go right up to where it is, I want to stay on the edge of it. And I'm going to go ahead and drop another edge in there, and then I'm going to drop an edge in here behind on the back side of the hinge. Okay, then I'm going to come down here and I want to do the same thing. So edge there, and I'm going to do an edge there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now what we want to do is we need to add a couple more edge loops so that we can cut this little recessed area in. So what happens is the door is recessed for the hinge, but it also is recessed for this little line here that goes up to the handle. So what we want to do is I want to cut some edges into the door so that I can actually define that shape as well. So I'm going to go ahead and again stay on the outside. I'm going to cut an edge right in there, and I'm going to stay on the outside. I'm going to cut an edge right in there. And then at that point I just want to kind of even out my edge spans. So I have my edge spans in there for the features that I need, but now I just want to kind of add some edges to just overall slice the thing up in a more even way so that when I smooth it, it's going to be more of a uniform smooth across the entire surface of the door. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into Insert Edge Loop tool, and I want to open the settings because this time I want to add multiple edge loops, and I just want to add one. And by doing this, what it's going to do is no matter where I click on an edge span of loops, it's just going to add one set of edge loops right in between, mathematically at the center of the left and right edges on either side. And so I just want to, just dice this door up a little bit so that it has enough edge loops so that when I go ahead and smooth it, it's going to give me a more uniform smooth. And I can show that by going into object mode, hitting the 3 key, and we can see here that we get a nice uniform smooth when we preview it in sub D mode. And that's more like what I wanted. So now I'm going to go ahead and pop back out to the perspective view and just take a look at everything. Make sure I'm still in the ballpark. That looks good. Okay. And what I want to do here is I want to kind of even out my edge spans with my features. And because what we see right here is when we cut this in, it kind of went a little wonky and uneven, as well as I kind of have an extra edge here that maybe now I don't really need. So what I want to do is I want to identify the edges I don't need, maybe get rid of them. That one I don't believe I need anymore, so I'm going to say Edit Mesh, delete Edge plus Vertex. Okay, and then I want to come down here and I want to figure out how many of these edges I actually need. This one is riding a little close to the feature that I actually want to cut in, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that too. So I'm going to say delete Edge plus Vertex, and then what I'm going to do is see how it eroded my shape over here on the side a little bit, and so I'm just going to go in here and grab these vertices and just pull them over a little bit to make up for that. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pull this set of edges over a little bit more, kind of line it up on the perimeter of that feature that I will soon be cutting into there, and that looks pretty good. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and fillet this door now that we know that it's going to smooth correctly, and we've confirmed that by looking at it in sub D mode. You don't always want to count on sub D for a mesh smooth preview, and pretty much for any production, as you guys know, you actually use the mesh smooth rather than a subdivision surface. So what you want to do is you always want to check it in a quick preview with the 3 key, the sub D mode, but then you want to always see what it looks like with a poly smooth on it. So I'm going to go ahead and go into mesh smooth. I just wanted to open up the dialog box to make sure my settings were correct, and I'm going to say apply. And there we go. We've confirmed that when we do a poly smooth, it's going to work just as well as we had planned using the sub D preview. So I don't want that modifier actually on there. I just wanted to check it first before I got started. Alright, so now we're to the point here where we could go ahead and fill it out this door. So what we want to do is go into edge mode here. I'm going to double click. And you'll see that when I double click on an edge, which is supposed to select all the edges around, I get this little artifact here where it's running down the center of my door. And the reason for that is because my normals on this door are facing in different directions, and I can illustrate that by clicking on this custom button I made for display face normals. And we see here that we have some normals facing out and we have some normals facing in. And so we just need to fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the door and I'm going to say face. I'm going to select all those faces, and then I'm going to go to normals and I'm going to say conform. And what that's going to do is it's going to face all the normals on that object in the same direction, which is what we want. And now I'm going to go ahead and flip the normals with a custom button I made here to flip the surface normals. Okay, now that we've confirmed that all our surface normals are facing in the same direction, we can go ahead and hide the face normals by going to object mode, clicking on my face normal button that I made, and there we go. We've got a door. Now when I go into edge mode and I double click the edge, it should select the loop without running through the center of it. And we've confirmed that that worked, so that looks good. One other thing I always kind of like to do before I get going or doing anything is I just want to make sure that all my vertices on this panel are actually merged, and I don't have any stray verts out there in the world that are actually not merged together. So I'm going to delete the history on the door, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into vertex mode. I'm going to select all the vertices, and I'm going to say edit mesh merge. I want to open up my dialog to see what my setting is. 0.01. That's good. I'm going to say apply. Okay. Now we're ready to go ahead and fill it out this door. So we're going to just put a rounded edge on it, and we're going to do it in a way so that when we go ahead and smooth the mesh, that it's going to retain its shape, and also allow us to basically render this thing from anywhere from an extreme close-up to far away, and we can change the resolution interactively, which is kind of the way you want to build anything these days. Really for any production, also film, game, this is kind of the way to go. So what I want to do here is I want to go into edge mode, and I'm going to select the border edges, and then I'm going to say modify, convert, polygon edges to curve. I'm going to open the options box because I want my degree for my curve to be 1 linear, and I'm going to say apply. And what it does is it creates this NURBS curve that runs around the perimeter of my object, my poly object, and it has the same number of control vertices as my object does have edges. And this is very important because when we go ahead and use our fillet curve, it's going to actually plop an edge down wherever there's an edge, and that's going to allow us to merge this thing very easily without having to do a whole bunch of tedious point pulling to get it to work. Alright, so now we have the curve. All I need is a profile curve. So I'm going to go into the front viewport, and I'm going to go ahead and say create arc tools, 2-point circular arc. I'm going to hold down the C key for snap to curve, and it didn't snap to the right curve, so I want to do this in the perspective view because I want to snap to the curve right there. Now I'm going to pop back over to my orthographic viewport, and I'm going to drop the other point here, which allows me to define this arc. So I want the arc to just be a quarter arc. So the way this works is you move this thing and it draws the arc however you want. You can pull this, so you can do a 180 degree of arc and pull it down. You can move this in, and the thing will just kind of draw, and this will tell you, these lines here and here, that you basically have a quarter arc when these two lines form a right angle. That's a quarter arc there. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter button to go ahead and create that. One thing you want to do also before you create your arcs is you always want to make sure that you have degree, circular arc degree to 1 linear, and the number of sections down to 4. 4 is the lowest it'll allow you to put it in. And if you drag it, I don't believe, yeah, it'll go down to 4. Okay. So you want it to be linear and 4. That's kind of the best settings for doing a fillet that you're going to convert to a polygon later. So I'm holding down the C key and I'm clicking on the curve that I just created. And I'm going to go out to the front viewport and I'm going to click again to drop my second point for my arc. And then I'm going to grab the radius tool manipulator for the arc creation. And I want it to just be a quarter arc. So there we go, got it. I'm going to hit the W key and then on the insert key, because I want to change the pivot of my arc to lie at the end of the arc. So I am going to grab the center and I'm going to hold down the C key for snap to curve, and I'm going to snap it up to be at the top of the actual arc itself. Now that I have my arc created, I'm going to go ahead and go to perspective view to take a look at it. And sometimes it's hard to draw things in orthographic view. It's hard to get an idea for the scale. So you just got to pop out to perspective view and take a look at things and say, you know, is that okay? Is that not okay? And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to select my arc and I'm going to select my profile curve, and then I'm going to say surfaces, extrude, and I want my style to be a tube, I want my result position to be at path, my pivot to be component, my orientation to be profile normal, my output geometry I want to be polygons, and my tessellation method I want to be control points. And then once I have that, I'm going to say go ahead and apply, and then what happens is it does the extrusion, but my geometry is actually flipped from what I wanted it to be. So it's pretty easy to fix. All I have to do is rotate my curve until I get the fillet that I'm looking for, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and check it from all sides, and that looks fine. There's one thing wrong here though, and that is that my curve was not closed. So what I want to do is I want to close the curve and try this again and hope that it still works. So I'm going to go to Edit Curves, Open Close Curve, and I'm going to say Blend, and then Apply. And then I'm going to right click on here for Control Vertex, and I just want to make sure that it didn't add an extra control vertex or anything, which it did not. And so let's just go ahead and do that again. This time, when I do my extrusion, my path extrusion using my arc, it's actually going to close, and I'm not going to have to worry about manually merging vertices and fixing that. So I've selected my arc, I've selected my path again, and I'm going to say surfaces extrude with the exact same settings as previous. And now my curve is closed, and it has the exact same number of vertices, or almost did, as my, oh yeah, that's right, as my my door panel actually has. Okay, so I got a little freaked out right here because I didn't realize that that was a quad, so I was wondering where that set of edges was coming from. And there's actually a vertex there, so that's good. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm going to go ahead now at this point and merge my my fillet to my door. So let's go ahead and do that. Before I do that though, what I always like to do is grab the two pieces that I'm about to combine and merge, and I like to duplicate them. So I'm going to hit Control D for duplicate, and then I'm just going to add the duplicated geometry to the originals folder, and all that allows me to do is always get back to the state that I was before without a whole bunch of hassle. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab my two pieces that I want to merge. I'm going to delete the history. At this point I don't really need the curve anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I can always get it back by just selecting one of these edges and converting them to a controlled vertice line, so that's a non-issue. Alright, so I'm going to select both pieces and I'm going to go into polygons and I'm going to say mesh, combine. I'm going to go into vertex mode and I'm going to select all the vertices and I'm going to say edit mesh, merge, and now all my vertices are merged. Alright, now the last thing I want to do is just check to make sure that this piece of geometry is going to smooth when I put a mesh smooth on it. So let's go ahead and check that. The first thing you always do is you hit the 3 key to just preview it in sub-D mode. And what you'll notice here has happened is this corner has kind of eroded into a rounded corner. Now that's fine if that's what you want, but in this case I don't believe that's what this door actually does on the car. So what I want to do is I want to fix that. Okay, so I need to make sure that these angular panels do not smooth. Now this one is okay because when I smooth it, it actually helps get the gentle arc of the door that I was trying to approximate anyway. This, however, does not look right. That's not what the car door actually looks like. So in order to fix that, I have a couple options. I can go in here and add some edges on either side of that, so I'll show you how to do it that way. Or I can go back to before I merged it and fix it much easier, and I'll show you that second. Alright, so first let's go ahead and fix it with the brute force method. Basically when you smooth something, if you want it to maintain a hard edge, you need 3 edges for every 90 degrees of arc. So if you want this edge here to be a 90-degree hard edge, you need to add 1, 2, 3 edges on this side of it, and that will allow you to basically, by moving those points or edges closer together, you can get anything from a hard edge to a soft edge. So let's go ahead and fix it, brute force method. So I'm going to go into polygons, edit mesh, interactive split tool. Now on the interactive split tool, it's kind of cumbersome in Maya. Crashes the program quite a bit. Let's hope it doesn't do that this time. But I just want to point out something that I've been doing that makes the tool a little bit easier to work with. And that's under the settings. What I like to do is I put a snap magnet value of, first I'm going to reset this to its defaults. So the snap magnets by default are 1 and the magnet tolerance is a 2. So the magnet tolerance is just how quickly it snaps to a point. So what I like to do is change the number of magnets to something high, like 50. And let's just go ahead and enter that. And then change the magnet tolerance to something like a 4. And then it gets a little bit harder to get it on a point, but you have a lot more leeway as to where you can drop the points yourself. So let's go ahead and drop a point here. When the vertex lights up like that with the red and the green center, that means that you have a vertex point. That's kind of what you want. It's not always easy to hit that vertex, so sometimes you end up with an extra vertice in here right next to another vertice, and I'm going to right click to close the operation. And let me just demonstrate what I was talking about there. Sometimes you try to get it right onto the vertex that's already there, but you end up basically clicking to the left or right of it, and so what happens is you end up drawing, you cut the edge in, but you end up with an extra vertex. So this is easy enough to fix. You always want to check that, so I'm going to hit the 4 key, go into vertex mode. If you end up with a vertex by the vertex and you actually want these to be merged, all you have to do is go to edit mesh, merge to center, and it's fixed. Okay, so now let's go ahead and check our mesh smooth now that we've added our extra 2 edges here. And let's see if our door panel retains its shape or if it erodes. Bingo, the door panel retains its nice hard edge, and as I said, if you wanted to make that edge even harder, all you'd have to do is select the verts on either side. And you can get an even harder edge. So that's one way of doing it. That's kind of the brute force fixing of it. But let me show you another way to do this, which may be considerably easier. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this door panel. And if you remember, I made a copy right before, and I did that just because it's a force habit, but also because I knew that I was going to do this. So now I just want to show you another method. Since we know that if I don't have three edges at a hard corner, that my geometry is going to erode, and that's known, which it is. All I need to do is, before I merge it, is go into Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop tool. I'm going to reset this tool because I want to just click, and where I click I want it to create a set of edges. So that's a little too close. Let's just do here and here. That looks good. And I just want to go around this thing and add a set of edge loops wherever I want a hard edge to be. And I got one more. Let's do it here and here. Okay. And all I need to do now, instead of using the interactive split tool, which as we all know can be a real pain, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control D to duplicate these, add the originals to the Control D and add the duplicated objects to the originals folder. Oh, he now realizes what's going on. Control D, and I'm going to create a new layer. There we go. And hide the originals. And there we go. Okay. So now that we have our extra edges cut in here, all we need to do is go into polygon mode, mesh combine, go into vertex mode, W to move, V for snap to vertex, and all I have to do is select these verts at the very top and move them over to the corner, and not only is it cleaner, but it's a whole lot easier. So I'm going to select the vert, W for move, V for temporarily snap to vertex, V again. And I'm just snapping those vertices to go right on top of the vertice here at the corner, so that when I go ahead and merge them, that it's just going to do it automatically. So now I've got all my points tightened up. All I have to do is go to Mesh and Edit Mesh, Merge, and there we go. It's merged my vertices. I can go ahead and hit the 3 key to just take a sub D preview of my door. Excellent. All my tight corners are tight. The corners that I wanted to be soft are soft. If I wanted to edit my shape here, I could totally do that. And it looks good. So at this point, you can go ahead and add a mesh smooth to this. And I want to show something else with the mesh smooth. I was having all sorts of trouble with this. Previous versions of Maya, it worked perfectly, and then I think they may have added some extra settings or something. And now sometimes when you smooth an object, I'm going to show you an artifact that you'll get and how to fix it. So I'm going to select the door here, and if I just use the default smooth, you can see here that at the corner I kind of get this weird artifact where my vertices are kind of throwing off and distorting the object a little bit. So the way to fix that is to just change your settings. So you go to Mesh, Smooth, and open up the dialog for the settings, and I'm going to say Edit Reset, because I want to show you there's one button that's toggled on by default that causes that artifact, and it's Geometry Borders Preserve. You just need to unclick that and then say Apply, and now this time we smooth it. You see I have no artifacts. My perimeter vertices are not eroding the way they were before and creating those kind of nasty little artifacts. So that's definitely worth knowing how to do, so you don't have to go and brute force and fix all those artifacts by hand. Okay, so we've confirmed here that this thing will poly smooth the exact way that we wanted it to. So we're happy with the asset. I don't actually want the smooth though, because I want to be able to do that later in post, and I want to continue modeling this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the channel box, and I'm going to click on the Poly Smooth Face node, and I want to change the divisions back to 0, which effectively removes the smooth from my mesh, and then I'm going to delete the history on that mesh because I want to continue modeling it. So let's go ahead and continue modeling. The door looks good, it smooths correctly. That's about all you can ask for when you're trying to build a professional grade asset. So let's go ahead and turn on the side ref, and let's go ahead and start cutting in our features that we need. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to cut this inset right here for this door hinge, and then I want to cut this one in, and if you'll notice, this one not only gets cut in, but it also gets cut all the way in for the door handle. So let's do this one first. So I'm going to go into face mode, and I'm going to select all these faces here, including the fillets, and I just want to make sure that I did that correctly. And now I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, Extrude, Apply, and I just want to scale this down a little bit. And the reason for that is because I'm trying to leave an edge on either side of the actual cut that I'm cutting into, and it's harder to explain than it is to show, so I'm just going to show it. So I did an extra extrude here that doesn't look like I really need it, but I'm going to use it later. So I'm going to go ahead and go into face mode again here. And I'm just going to leave that one alone. That's just kind of like a perimeter shape. And then I'm going to go ahead and extrude again. So I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Extrude. And this time, I'm going to go to World Mode, and I'm going to just push it back and give it a little bit of depth. Okay. And I got a weird artifact there, so what did I do? I think I have a double edge. So I'm going to go into world mode. Oh, there it is. So we basically have an edge here that we don't want. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and grab this edge. Sorry about that, I had to pause. I had an encroaching cat into my recording space here. So I had this extra edge here which I want to get rid of. And it looks like there's another one. Okay, so I had a little issue there with the extrude of the face, and basically the way it works for me is whenever you get into some sort of complex extrusion with a bunch of polygons, I really just think you're better off to use the world manipulator. And what happened was I used the local manipulator, and I ended up with a set of edges that I didn't want, and I couldn't get rid of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I'm going to select all these faces here. I'm going to say Edit, Mesh, Extrude. This time I'm going to do it in world mode, and I'm just going to go ahead and scale it down a little bit, and then in a little bit. And then now what I've done is I've actually exposed this face here, which I don't need or want, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And now I'm going to go ahead and move my extruded faces over, and that's what I was looking for, something more like that. I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'm just going to grab these vertices here and cinch them over a little bit so that we kind of have a uniform border running around my feature that I'm about to inset. Alright, so I'm going to go into face mode again. That's the perimeter, which I'll show you how we're going to use that in a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut my feature. So I'm going to say Edit, Mesh, Extrude. I'm going to do this in world mode. And before I do that, I just want to check to see if there's that face right there that I don't want. And there it is. So I want to get rid of that. And now I can go ahead and scale this thing back, and I'm going to go ahead and push it down. So depth, it looks fine. You may want to, sometimes when you're modeling stuff like this, it can help to over exaggerate certain features. Just makes your model basically look better. So there we go. That's one extrude, two extrudes, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a third extrude. So I'm going to say Edit, Mesh, Extrude. Go to world mode again. And I just want to translate this back because I always want to delete that extra face. And now I'm going to go ahead and move this back into position. And I'm going to scale this down a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a border here on the inside, just like my border here on the outside. Okay. So now that I have all my polygons in place, now what I want to do is I want to go into edge mode, and I'm going to select this loop here, and I'm going to go into Edit, Mesh, Bevel, because I want to add a bevel to soften the edge. And I'm going to change the offset to something higher. And we got a little bit of a stray here and here, but we can go ahead and fix that manually. That's really not that big of a deal. Number of segments is fine, 2, that's good. But I wanted to bevel this on both sides actually. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I'm going to select the exterior edge and the interior edge. And I'm going to go ahead and bevel again. So I'm going to say Edit, Mesh, Bevel, and now what I have here is bevels on both the inside and the outside. So I'm going to increase the offset. That's definitely a little harder than I wanted it to be. And I believe the issue that I'm having here is that it's all of these faces down here that are causing the problem, as to why I'm not going to be able to offset that any deeper. But let's pretend like that's not happening, because this is easily enough fixed. If you did want the bevel to be more pronounced, all I would have to do is manually go in and manipulate these edges myself to increase the bevel. So not really that hard to do. Manually. The hard part is mainly getting the edges in there without having to go into the interactive split tool yourself and do all the extra edge cutting. Okay, so you get the idea. Let's just do it for the set of outside edges. And you could do the same thing for the interior set also. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. Now, let's go ahead and smooth this geometry now so that we can see why I added the extra lip. And you can see here that when I go to smooth this, I just hit the 3 key to do sub D smooth, and this really erodes into more of a circular shape, which is definitely not what I wanted. So what I want to do now is I want to tighten this thing up so that it does not erode into a soft edge. I want it to have a harder edge, but maybe not completely hard. So what I did was, the reason I left this edge here and this edge here is so that I can tie off to them with the interactive split tool. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the interactive split tool. So I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Interactive Split, and what I want to do is I want to draw a set of edges from here to here to here, and then I'm going to tie it back into here. Alright, so let's do it again. So again, I'm going a little wide on this because I don't want this edge to be completely hard. I want it to be slightly hard. And so what I've done here is I've cut in 3 edges on either side so that I can retain my shape. And you'll see here that when I go ahead and hit the 3 key for the sub D smooth, it actually smooths up correctly. Now we have an artifact here, and that's likely because I have 2 vertices here. I have that artifact issue where I use the interactive split tool, and it basically it added an extra vertex. So what I want to do is I just want to fix that by merging those vertices. So I'm going to select them all. I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Merge, and merge. The tolerance was set too low, so I actually believe the culprit is right here. So I'm just going to locally select all that. I'm going to say Edit Mesh, Merge to Center, and no, we still have the artifact. I believe I can probably fix that by just grabbing this vertex here and pulling it back and up would also do the trick. Yeah, that did it. So what I believe I did here is same reason I was having trouble when I cut my bevel in, is that I actually left my perimeter edges too close to the feature. So when you cut those in, you definitely want to give yourself some room so you won't end up with this issue, which I did not, unfortunately. So the way to fix that manually is to just go ahead and grab your vertices. Let's say you make that mistake and you just don't want to fix it, right? The way to do that is to grab these verts here, pull them back, and scale them up, and that'll do the trick. Now, when you go ahead and smooth this, it will just basically give it enough room to do the work without getting crowded. All right, so let's go ahead and do that again. If I were modeling this for real, I would certainly start over, and what I would do is, you see this distance from this edge to this edge? That's what I would do. I would make sure that when I actually did my feature cut, that I left enough room instead of crowding it so much. So, just made a mistake. No biggie. Sometimes you make mistakes, and you really are out of time, let's say you're on a deadline and you know how to do it right, but you don't have time to do it over, this is how you fix it. Alright, there we go. So we have that. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and enter the interactive cut tool, interactive split, and I want it to be a little wider because I don't want the edge to be totally hard, and I'm just going to go in and split it and then tie it. Split. So these two edges right here are just my tie off points because I don't want to add all of these edge details into the entire mesh. It would just become ridiculous and really hard to model at that point. So I'm just cutting a feature in and adding a whole bunch of edges, but I want them to tie back into a single vertex. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to select, just in case I have any double vertices here, I want to go ahead and say I'm going to go to polygon mode, and I want to make sure that I merge those vertices. So I'm going to select them and say merge to center, and then I'm going to select these verts and do it again. You can see here I'm going to hit undo here. So those are really close to each other, and if I didn't know they were there, I might miss it. You know, if I was back here, that might look like a single vertex. So when I go here and I go edit mesh, merge to center, you can see how that chunked together. Always want to pay attention to that. The other thing I want to do here is just go in here and maybe clean up my perimeter a little bit. Let's see if it's even worth it. That's so down into the details. I could fix that, but I already know for a fact that that's not going to be seen. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone and keep going. So now let's go ahead and check our inset feature here. Let's go ahead and do a render. Very nice. Renders nicely. We don't see any of those artifacts in the render, so we're not going to mess with it. So, and then if I zoom in, I just want to illustrate why we would build it in this manner. If I zoom in and render, you can see here, oh whoa, that totally breaks down. That looks really bad, right? Well, the beauty of this method is that I can go ahead and add a mesh smooth. So I go mesh smooth, and then I can render this thing kind of an infinite level of detail. See how we have a little bit of banding here because there's not enough geometry? Well, all I need to do in order to go in closer on this is just change the divisions from 1 to say something high like 3, and we can keep going in. And I'll render it again. And I'm going to try to go in close until we see some faceting again. You can see how close I got to go, but let's go ahead and render one more just for proof of concept here. I'm going to render this and can't get it to break down anymore. So that's probably about the limit of the geometry that you would need. Would be a smooth of level 3, and then you know, I don't even know how close I'd have to go. I can't even get it to band. So generally though, poly smooth of divisions 1 is enough. So from about out here, medium shot, that totally looks fine. So the beauty of it is, if I ever needed to do a close-up of that hinge and I got some faceting, I could just fix it with the click of a button by increasing the divisions, and then bam, there we go, it works. Alright, so let's keep going. I don't want this smooth. I was only using it as a preview, so I want to get rid of it. So I'm going to click on the poly smooth node, change the divisions, whoa, poly smooth, change the divisions back to 0, and then I'm going to delete the history. Okay, now let's do a little bit more difficult feature cut here, and we're going to go ahead and cut in that door handle profile. So I'm going to go ahead and go into face mode. I want to go ahead and select all my faces that coincide with that feature on the door, and I'm going to say edit mesh extrude, And I'm going to go ahead and take my chances this time working in local mode. And I just want to scale it down a little bit. Remember, I'm trying to keep a perimeter, and then that I'm going to use to tie off to. And then for this one, it's going to be a little bit more useful. You'll see right away. Okay, so I got my little perimeter line. I'm just going to clean up these stray verts here a little bit. I don't want to do anything with that yet. What I do want to do is I want to delete this extra face that gets created. And it's right there, because I don't like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and select my faces again, and it's going to be the same process that I just did, where I'm going to go ahead and say extrude again. This time I'm going to do it in world mode, and I'm going to offset it. Basically, on the last one I used the extent of my fillet as the offset, so I'm going to do that again since we know that's all uniform. I'm going to delete that extra face right there that I don't like, and then we're going to go ahead and do this one more time. Okay, so let's go ahead and select all those interior faces again, and then let's say edit mesh, extrude. I'm going to do it in local mode. I just want to scale it all down a little bit. Okay, we always have this stray vert over here that we need to fix, so I'm going to grab it and pull it down. Okay, and I'm going to grab this one and pull it down also to give me just a little bit more of a straight line there. Okay, now what I can do is I can do this the same way I did it last time, where I can select my edges here, and let's just talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. So you might say, well, why not just go ahead and leave it as it is, right? Well, you could, but when you go ahead and smooth it, you're gonna get a little bit of an eroded look here at the edge, and you might want to preserve that better, is all. So it's all about control. So I'm going to go ahead and select my edges, and I'm going to select my interior edges also. So I'm going to select my perimeter edge and my interior edge, because I want to bevel this. Interior and exterior. Alright, so now that I have all those edges selected, I'm going to say edit mesh, bevel, and the offset, I want it to be a little bigger. And I want to look into something real quick. I'm going to pause for a second and come back. Okay, so I just wanted to look into something because I knew there were some settings that I could use on the bevel that would allow me to basically get the offset that I wanted. And I'll show you where that is. So I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, Bevel, and I'm going to hit Reset to set it back to the default. And you have this offset type value. Fractional prevents inside-out bevels, right? Well, I'm going to manage that myself, so I don't want the software to tell me what to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Absolute as the offset value. I'm going to go ahead and say Apply, and what happens is we get this really weird effect here. And what that is the offset value is just way too high. So I want to go into the offset value, and I want to just dial it into a smaller number. So 0.01 is probably way too small. So we're in a ballpark though because it snapped back and it looks decent. So I'm going to say 0.05, and that's a little high. Well, maybe if I add another segment to it, that's not bad. So actually I kind of like that because I now have a number of hard edges, but maybe I don't need 2 segments, so maybe I just need 1, because that looks like a lot of extra stuff, because we have 1, 2, 3 edges here and 1, 2, 3 edges, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to leave it at 1, and I kind of like that offset of 0.05. Now what was happening was we had these kind of exploded faces over here, and that's what the software was trying to prevent. So these can also be fixed by just grabbing these vertices here and going ahead and pulling them down. And again, since this is kind of hidden from sight, I'm not going to worry about it, because you're not going to see that inside of a render. So we're just going to leave those alone. If those were exposed, I would absolutely go in and do the tedium of fixing it, but it's not, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone. So now I have my door panel, I got the feature cut, I'm going to hit the 3 key to just see how it smooths. So this corner down here looks perfect. I don't want to do anything there. This corner, however, if I look at the reference image, is a much tighter corner than that, and these 2 corners are much tighter also, so I need to go ahead and manually fix those. So I'm going to hit the 1 key to go back to my control mesh, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the interactive split tool, and I'm going to go ahead and harden up these edges. So I left an extra edge here and here that I could tie into, so I'm going to go into edit mesh, interactive split tool, and I don't want these to be super hard, so I'm going to fan out. Make them a little wider. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Oops. And I made a slight mistake there. It's easier for me to just go into vertex mode, hit W for move, V for snap to snap this to there, rather than to go in and fix it with the interactive split tool. So I'm going to go ahead and select all my verts. I want to make sure that these are welded. So you've got a double here, and I probably have a double here. So I'm going to go ahead and select these first. So I'm going to say edit mesh, merge to center, edit mesh, merge to center, and do the same thing here. Now I can just hit the G key, and let's go ahead and see what happens now when I smooth. And that's not bad. We've got that's about the hardness that I wanted, so it did a good job this time. And then we have that same issue here with a little bit of the over erosion on our line. And that's easy enough to fix because I'm just going to fan that out. There we go. Artifact is gone. And we just have one more to fix. So let's go ahead and fix this one up. Same thing. I'm going to go into the interactive split tool. Tie back to here. Split. It kind of doesn't even pay to try to get it right on the vertex. I don't even try it anymore because all I need to do is go in here and say edit mesh, merge to center, and it's much easier to do that than it is to precisely place the tool itself. Alright, so now I've tightened that up, so when I go ahead and smooth it, I should get a nice hard edge. That looks good. We've got some over erosion here, and again, the easiest way to fix that is to just go ahead and grab this vertex and this vertex and space them out. Poor man's method. The other way to do it would be to just give yourself more space to begin with, which I probably should have done. And if I had all the time in the world, I would absolutely do that. But in this case, let's just say I have a deadline and a client breathing down my neck, and they're going to be happy with the mesh, regardless if it's 100% perfect or not. Yeah, that looks good. And all I have to do is, I've checked it with the sub-D smooth, it looks good. Now all I want to do is check it with the mesh smooth. I'm going to go into mesh smooth, and bingo, looks good. We've got a slight artifact there, and I just want to make sure that that is not a duplicated vertex. Okay, so I have this artifact here that I really don't like, that's wildly unacceptable, and I want to go ahead and fix it. So show you guys how to fix these things yourselves also. So what we really need to do is basically this point is too close to this edge, and it's just never going to work. So what I want to do is I want to reconfigure this. So I'm going to select these two edges, and I'm going to say edit mesh, delete edge plus vertex, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to go into the interactive split tool, and what I need to do is I just need to beef this up and give these edges someplace to run where they're not so crowded, basically. And that was easy enough. That is a much better edge configuration. So I'm just going to go ahead and now select all the vertices, and I'm going to say mesh, edit mesh, merge, to merge any duplicates. And now when I hit the 3 key, we can see here that that's a very nice smooth, and we've done it. Our door panel looks great. It smooths out nicely, at least in the sub-D mode, and I can render that to prove it. That looks very nice. And now all I want to do is make sure that this is ready for production by going into mesh smooth, and there we go. It looks clean also, and I'll go ahead and render that. Wonderful. Alright, so the door is basically done. I want to get rid of the poly smooth because I'm going to go ahead and do that pretty much only at render time, and I'm going to delete the history. For modeling purposes and just working quick display, I'm just going to use the 3 key for the sub-D preview. And there we go. We got our nice door panel with our inset cuts, smoothing ability for extreme close-up, and it's looking great. Alright, so now I want to move on, and I want to just demonstrate how to build a window and some door trim pieces that you may need. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create the window, and I'm going to do that by using a NURBS boundary surface. So I'm going to click on my create CV curve. I want to make sure that it's degree 1 linear. I want to turn on wireframe on shaded, and I'm going to hold down the V key for snap to vertex, and I'm just going to draw my line right along the perimeter of my window jambs, And then I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to click on the CV curve tool, snap to vertex, holding down the V key, and I just want to trace the geometry that I already have. I'm going to hit the enter key to go ahead and enter it, complete the line, and I'm going to use the V key and snap to vertex of my basically door jambs that I already have. Alright, so I've got my curves drawn. Now I can go ahead and hide my door. So I'm going to call this door. I'm going to just create a new layer for it, door layer. And if I want to be more explicit, I'll call it left door. And then I'll remove this layer up. Okay, so I got my curves here. In order for the boundary to work, I actually just have to make sure that the edges touch. So I'm going to grab my line here, I'm going to center its pivot. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go into control vertex mode, W for move, C for snap to curve, and I'm going to snap to that curve. And do the same thing on this side. And then I might just go into an orthographic viewport and straighten things out a little bit. Okay, now I need 4 of these curves in order to build a window. So I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to hit insert so that I can change the center, and I'm going to change the pivot point to be at the base of the line, and then I'm going to hold down the C key for snap to curve again, and I'm just going to move it over to be the base of this other curve. And then I'm going to go into actually I'm going to scale this uniformly until the point just about coincides with the other point. That's close enough. So now all I need to do is select that control vertex, hold down the C key, hit the W key for move, C key for snap to curve, and I'm going to snap my control vertex right there onto that curve. So now what I have is 4 NURBS curves, linear degree, and they're all touching. So now I can do a boundary surface. So I'm going to select 1, hold down the shift key, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to say I'm going to go into surfaces mode, and I'm going to say boundary, and for output geometry I want it to be a polygon, and for tessellation method I want it to be control points. I'm going to hit apply, and the reason I did it that way was so that my edges would coincide perfectly with the edge parameterization that I already have for the window jambs, basically. And there we go, it looks good. If I wanted to, I could center the pivot on my window, hold down the V key for snap to vertex, move it down to the base. I could recess it into the door a bit, so we could do the old power window effect. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. You could crack it a little bit. What I like to do is just pull it down a little bit and then scale it up a little bit so that it'll fit right in there snugly. And now that's about how a window really fits a door. You can check it by doing the power window, and there we go. Looks good. The next thing I want to do is I want to build this little trim piece, which I'm going to grab my reference and show you. So we have this little trim piece in here on the window on the door. And I'm going to go ahead and add my glass to the window frame. And then I don't really need those NURBS curves anymore, so I'm going to delete them. And so what we have here is this little frame piece here. And I just want to show you a quick way for doing these. I want to throw out the caveat that the way I'm about to do this is not exactly perfect or precise, but You guys are doing quite a bit in a short amount of time, and you may want to just cut some corners here or there. So I want to show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my window and I'm going to make it live so that I can draw onto it. And then I'm going to go into the CV curve tool and the linear degree. And I just want to draw the shape of that frame while maintaining kind of the same edge parameterization that already exists. Not necessary to do it this way, but cool if you do. So we're going to do it based on the cool if you do principle. Okay, so I drew my shape. I want to turn off the window as live, and I'm going to go ahead and hide it in my side reference. And I just want to fix up this frame a little bit. That's a little bit jagged, so I just want to clean that up. Okay, so now I'm going to select the frame here, and I'm going to say edit curves, open close curve. There we go. I'm ready at this point to go ahead and draw a shape to extrude along this path. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the CV curve tool again. And I'm just going to go in and draw 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And shift to draw it straight. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to say edit curves, open close curve. And then let's just go ahead and straighten this thing up a little bit. That's pretty good. Alright, so maybe we'll make it a little bit more interesting, right? Maybe we'll give it a little bit of a ledge for kind of where the glass fits into it. So I'm going to go into curve point, and I'm going to select one here, one here, one here, and one here, and then I'm going to say edit curves. I'm looking for insert knot. There it is. Control vertex, and I basically just changed my mind at the 11th hour and decided I wanted to add a little bit more detail to my shape, and I did that. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and center the pivot on this thing. And I want to move the center to be at the back. And I just want to turn it around 90 degrees here. Okay, and I'm going to hold down the C key to snap to the curve. And I'm going to just go ahead and snap it to the top of my shape. Alright, that looks pretty good. At this point I'm going to freeze the transformations on that object. In case you guys forgot what freeze transformations is, I have this shape here and you can see I have all this translate and rotate information on the shape. I want to zero that shape back to nothing so that it has no translation or rotation. And the way you do that is by freezing the transformations. So I'm going to select the object and hit freeze transformations, and now everything's set back to 0, 1, and 1, and 1. That's what I want. And now I'm going to select my shape and my path, and I'm going to say surfaces extrude. And my ledge is actually backwards from what I wanted. So what I want to do is just rotate this guy around. I'm going to select a dimension, and I'm going to say negative 180, I believe. And now there we go, we've got our ledge. Now occasionally this thing happens, alright? But you can see that my shape is bowed out on the edges. I have not been able to isolate where this comes from, other than it just kind of rears its ugly head every once in a while. And you can spend a lot of time trying to trace it down, or you can just go ahead and brute force it and fix the geometry yourself by just selecting the vertices and scaling them down. So although that's not perfect, it works. So that's how I chose to fix it this time. The other way to fix that is to redraw your shape curve in a viewport that is perpendicular to your path. Or I've also had luck deleting the preferences, deleting the Maya prefs, and doing the extrusion again. In this case, I just didn't want to do all that, so I went ahead and grabbed the vertices and just scaled them down to fix the artifact. Totally acceptable. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to make sure that this thing was smooth, which I could have told you it will not. And the reason it won't is because we only have one edge, and if you want a hard 90-degree edge, you need 3 edges for every 90 degrees of arc. So let's go ahead and add some extra edges to this to finish this little window jam off. So I'm going to go to Polygons, Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop Tool, and I want this to be pretty tight, so I'm just going to go ahead and add these edges in really close to the actual shape edge. Okay, there we go. And now we have an asset that will smooth and retain its shape. Let's go ahead and see how that looks in the actual door itself. There's the window frame. It's maybe a little small, so what I'm going to do is center its pivot, and then I'm going to move it down and just scale it up. There we go. Looks good. Intersects it. I got my nice little extra feature where it looks like it's actually holding a piece of glass. Even though it is not, I'm faking it out. And let's go ahead and render that, see how that looks. Cool. Alright, so now what we want to do is we've got all these assets that we built so that we could smooth them, and we're going to prove that by using just the quick preview sub-D smooth. Render it again, and that looks great. So that's pretty much it for trimming out your door. That's all you're going to have to do, and then you know, you can do that in a lot more detail if you would like. I'm just kind of trying to show you a fast way, since I know a lot of you guys are behind, so I want to get you to a point where you can turn out something pretty decent, and just know that you know, for your portfolio development class, that's when you're going to go in and really kind of redo everything and get everything perfect. This time it's just more or less a getting it done and then getting it looking pretty good in an AO render or a Maya Sun and Sky render. That's it, and I'm going to come back and do the girl for y'all. Thanks. Bye.